Fina Ashak on a mission to help the victims of the earthquake in Pakistan there. If you want to know more about the work of charities out there, you can go to our website at bbc.co.uk/insideout. Coming up later in the programme, we're on the road with the Vesper Vicar here in Shropshire as he tries to convert the godless citizens of Telford. First though, let's go back in time. As you drive along the M5 through the Black Country, you're surrounded by reminders of our industrial past. Among the shiny new industrial estates are magnificent derelict buildings dating back to Victorian times. One of them in particular has a story to tell, a story that's been hidden from many of us for the past 30 years. Like so many relics of our industrial past, the buildings at the Chance Works in Smethwick are now derelict, burnt out and decayed. This once proud symbol of Midlands manufacturing is now stranded between the M5 motorway and the rail line to the West Country. The 21st century rushes by on both sides, giving it little more than a passing glance. But it wasn't always like this. These buildings were at the heart of the world's biggest glass makers. Here was the administrative centre for the Chance Glass Works, famous for making glass for Crystal Palace, Big Ben and, believe it or not, even the White House.
Well, its heyday was in the middle years of the 19th century when it was an absolutely huge glassworks. The atmosphere would have been dangerous and hot, with machinery and glass blowing taking place. A hive of activity as glass would be loaded onto the adjacent canals. It would be dirty, very unpleasant as well. Glass blowing was a dangerous occupation. You know, when you were past your 40s, that was about the end of it.
Were the workers well paid?
They were reasonably well paid by the standards of the time. A lot of them were highly skilled. There were sometimes tensions because the foreign workers from Belgium and France were paid at a higher rate.
I bet the trade unions didn't like that.
They didn't like it very much, and there are records of fights taking place between foreign and British workers.
But despite the influx of foreign expertise, eventually the books didn't balance anymore. By the end of the 1940s, Chance Brothers was in terminal decline. Here you can still see the files and ledgers which bear witness to the influence the company had right across the globe. This one dates back as far as 1934. This place was abandoned in the early 80s, but the legacy of the Chance Brothers still shines brightly. As well as making millions of tons of plate glass and some stained glass for churches, Chance Brothers was famous for ornamental products which had pride of place in the sitting rooms of thousands of suburban homes. But Chance Brothers is famous for making one thing above all, and to see one of the best working examples, I'm on my way to the western tip of Wales, a few miles outside the coastal town of Fishguard. As if the 5-hour drive from the Midlands isn't enough, I've got to make my way across this tiny bridge onto a tiny island, and look how high it is. It's blown a gale as well. Hope it's safe. And here's the man that looks after what we've come to see. Hello, Jeff.
Hello, Ashley. Yep, coming in, up the top here.
Excellent. Well, Jeff, this is a very first for me, being actually inside a lighthouse, but what exactly are we looking at here?
Well, we've got one of the largest lenses in the UK made by Chance Glass of Birmingham. It's a wonderful example. The whole lens weighs about 4.5 tonnes and it revolves in a bath of mercury.
So it's almost 100 years old. What kind of a condition is the lens in?
There's the odd little knock here and there, I guess where someone's dropped a spanner or something over the years, but considering how long it's been here, it's very, very good. And this technology was exported all over the world. For instance, in the South China Sea, there's one with a fine Chance glass optic. Nowadays, of course, everything comes our way from China, but in those days we exported all this technology.
Strumblehead Lighthouse has been keeping mariners safe for nearly a century, day and night. And despite the arrival of satellite navigation, it still provides a reassuring visual warning of the dangers hidden off the coast. But what of the people who designed and built the lighthouse lenses? People like Alan Taylor, who worked at Chance's in the 1940s. Birmingham's museum store is a treasure trove of relics from the city's manufacturing past. But there's only one thing Alan's really here to see. It's the machine which made the lighthouse lenses, allowing the operators to smooth them into the precise angles and shapes they needed.
It's still filling me with some wonderment, allowing me to live my youth over again, because it's been 50 years since I saw it, and then I was in my teens. There were beams crisscrossing over your head, and that memory has never left me after 60 odd years.
Conditions were difficult for workers at Chance's, but they valued what they did.
I meet some of them now, and there are only a handful left in the Midlands. They were extremely proud, and even their sons and daughters have got this same feeling of intense pride that they contributed to the maritime heritage of Britain.
To belong in any capacity to our firm does not simply mean that you spend a given number of hours working in a factory. It means that you have new and better opportunities for good health and recreation, a sense of security coming from the firm.
Angela Hind has immersed herself in the history of Chance Brothers and the people who work there. And she knows more than most about the company's ethos. It's her job to collect and compile the memories of surviving workers.
Working at Chance's was like being part of a big family. As an employer, they really looked after their staff. And people really had a job for life there, and they were able to engage in a number of social activities. Many people met their husbands and wives there. It's been a kind of hidden gem, if you like, in Smethwick and Sandwell's history. There's a lack of awareness, really, about how special a place it was.
When Angela has gathered enough memories, she'll publish them in the style of the Old House magazine. She's also setting up a website, so anyone involved in the history of Chance's can chat and swap memories. It's sobering to think that this seemingly desolate part of the Midlands has such a rich and prosperous history. When the lighthouse lenses were being tested, they illuminated huge sections of the factory and beyond, shining thousands of watts into the kitchens and living rooms of the surrounding houses. Now the lights may have gone out, but the memories of those who worked here are still very much alive. Well, back in the 20s, when Chance Brothers was at its peak, we were a pretty religious bunch, but not anymore. Christian churches are struggling to find new worshippers, and congregations are getting increasingly old. But just down the road from this lovely part of Shropshire, the church has gone on the offensive and hired a funky new missionary.